So I promise to be back in 15 minutes, and it's exactly 15 minutes. Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Great. So I want you to look into the room and find someone that has a shade of the color of the clothes you're wearing, and just go and sit by them. Let's stand, look at someone in the room that has a shade of the color you're wearing, and just move and sit with them. So you're moving closer to me, so carry your bags and then move closer to the person wearing. Okay, yes, let's do that. So the people at the back, I would expect you to move forward while doing that as well. No, you cannot go backward, you can only come forward. You are not allowed to go backward, you can only come forward. So if you're at the back, grab your things, find someone that has a shade of the color you're wearing, and sit next to them. Okay, beautiful. Okay, you can see the color blending gradually. Okay, we have a few more people at the back. They're still looking for the colors in the room. Okay. Okay, I give it another 20 seconds. I can still see a few people over there. Yeah, let's find those colors at the front. Okay. All right, very good. Now we can start. So to get us started, I want to be sure that we're all awake and alive and ready to go. So if you're 100% awake, can you say hoo-hoo? Ah, okay. If you're 50% awake, can you say who? Oh, nobody. If you will need coffee to survive today, say hoo hoo hoo. Okay, not so much. Okay, thank you so much, and welcome to day 3. This is the final day of the Soschi Conference. My name is Damilola Fasharanti, and I'll be honored to be your MC for today. You can call me Fash, just in case my name is so much of a trouble. Yesterday, I would describe it as a scientific marathon. Does anybody agree? Sure. You can give a round of applause. Great. So we had the lightning talks, we had breakouts on the indicators, we had abstract presentations, and we also had poster presentations as well. Now, if you look at yesterday and all the things that were done, if you think deeply on what happened to you, maybe you got inspired, or it was mind-blowing for you, or it was very exciting, I want you to touch the part of your body that changed yesterday based on what we did. Hey, everybody's touching the head. Oh, some people are touching the ears. It's the head, it's the heart. Wow. Okay, can we give a round of applause to everyone that participated yesterday? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So like I said, today is the final day. It's the final sprint. It's like we started day 1 trying to cook, and we brought all the ingredients together. Yesterday, we invited the chef, and we asked them how we're going to put this together. And today, finally, the food will be ready. And we'll be able to conclude the conference, and we leave from there. Now, we're going to be starting this morning with a fireside chat with donors, and we're going to have an interactive Q&A as well. And the topic of this fireside chat is, where should Africa invest in climate health research? And this conversation will be chaired by Lewis Bonang, and please round of applause as she comes to the stage.
Thank you, Fash. Yeah, a very energizing start to the day. So this is our final panel of the conference. As Fash said, we're looking to explore and answer the question, where should Africa invest in climate and health research next? This fireside conversation brings together leaders representing 4 pillars of the climate and health ecosystem. We have those from global philanthropy, continental research and evidence, health systems, and policy and climate diplomacy. So I'll shortly invite each of the panelists to join me on the stage. We'll have Dr. Felipe Colon Gonzalez, who's the technology lead in the Data for Science and Health from Wellcome Trust. Thank you, Felipe. We have Dr. Zakari Ali, who's a research fellow at the Lancet Countdown Africa. We have Dr. Brian Chirombo, who's the country representative of the World Health Organization here in Rwanda. And we have Ms. Petronella Adihambo from the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support, Agnes, and she's a research associate there. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Is the mic on? Can you hear me okay? Great. So I'm going to ask with a quick question, as a soundbite from each of you, if that's okay. So to start, I'd like to hear from each of you in 1 minute. What is the single most urgent climate and health research priority Africa must address today? Maybe I could start with Dr. Chirombo. You on the end?
Thank you. Oh, all right. So, thank you very much, Bonan. I think Africa still faces a dual burden, where we are still battling with the traditional health risks, like undernutrition, like unsafe water, of course, infectious diseases. But we are beginning to see the rise of non-communicable diseases, which are driven by air pollution, by urbanization, and by unhealthy lifestyles. So, and in 2019, air pollution was shown to be the continent's second leading risk factor for death. So for me, the most urgent climate health research priority is advancing air quality monitoring and understanding its health impact. We need robust baseline data and predictive early warning systems to be able to protect vulnerable populations.
Perfect, very clear. Air quality, thank you. Dr. Felipe, can I ask you to give your priority?
Yeah, what I would say, I wouldn't necessarily point out one specific field where we need to invest. What I would say is that what we need most urgently is generating locally relevant evidence on how climate change is impacting human health in the continent, and translating that evidence into solutions that can be adopted promptly to strengthen resilience. One of the critical things that I think we need to do is to create that evidence locally, because one of the biggest problems is that most of the information or most of the evidence that is generating and that guides policy in the continent comes from outside Africa. Without African-led research, we cannot design bespoke interventions that we need and that are suited for the African context. So what I would say is, yes, it is important to address specific fields, but as I pointed out in my opening speech, the climate and health issue, even though it's a health issue, it's a complex issue. It interacts with many other sectors. So keeping that in mind, what we need is an evidence of how the climate is impacting health, understanding the connections with these other sectors, but also generating that evidence from within the continent.
Thank you. Dr. Zakari, your thoughts?
Thank you very much. As someone working with the Lancet Countdown, seeking to generate evidence on how climate change is impacting health, I think we need to strengthen. We've come so far in understanding how climate change is affecting health, but within the continent, we have a long way to go in unraveling the different ways in which climate change is affecting health. So I think priority should be given to doing more on health impact attribution studies. I know the initiatives such as Soschi, DSI Africa initiatives, and now Lancet Countdown Africa seeking to advance indicators on the African continent. So we need to put in more funding and resources into this, because this, if we come to a point where we can understand that flood X that happened in country Y was caused this kind of damage, and we can be sure that 60% of it was as a result of human-induced climate change, then it will equip our negotiators for negotiations such as loss and damage negotiations, and also climate litigation. Climate litigation is not much of an issue in Africa, possibly because maybe we don't have robust enough indicators to try and fight this. But in Europe, these are happening, and there are discussions within the Lancet Countdown to even have an indicator to track climate litigations. But here, I think much of the focus will be on loss and damage negotiations, and also even prioritizing. If we know the most vulnerable populations, governments can even prioritize where to put their funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Petronella, your final thoughts?
All right, yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. So I think I'll join distinguished panel that have already spoken before me on mentioning the importance of evidence. And I think priority for Africa would then be attribution studies, if I could just pick on one thing. Looking at the IPCC work that now currently we are moving into the AR7 cycle, there's a huge gap when it comes to the evidence that is presented from African case studies. So my strength will then be that we need to invest in our research and ensure our research are not just ones that are filled within our academic institutions, but also are reaching to the right avenues, including the IPCC. Because it is through the IPCC that then even the climate negotiators use to, cite information about. It is through the IPCC and other recognized journals that then we can use to communicate the different case studies from Africa. So attribution is very relevant for us in this case. And the other one last thing I'd like to mention is about adaptation scenarios. So many a times we recommend adaptation strategies. I mean, as a continent, adaptation is a priority for us. But then the question is, are we able to go back and, clearly articulate that when we implement a certain strategy, it's going to work, and at what point? So we need to be able to link our adaptation scenarios to development trajectories in Africa, so that then even as we invest in research, we're able to understand that this intervention will work in a particular area at a particular time, and linking through different sectors, and what then will this mean in terms of the development trajectory and the investment that is needed across governments. So just twofold, attribution studies, and then linking that to adaptation scenarios to help us understand how are our interventions working, and then what will that then mean to our development trajectory. Yeah.
Now that we've got a clear idea of the research priorities as we go forward, I think let's turn to the question that this panel is trying to address. Where should Africa invest its research next? And I think, Dr. Felipe, your role in Welcome funding a lot of the work on climate and health research. You must see a lot of proposals from around the world. Where do you believe donors can make the most significant impact right now? What type of research or research conditions can lead to you think, making, truly moving the needle for Africa?
Thank you. I think donors can have the bigger impact by investing in local leadership, investing in or supporting long-term partnerships, and also supporting the creation and the common usage of more flexible funding strategies. So that's where I think donors can have a bigger impact. Now, where are these, or what are the features of the proposals that turn the needle? Well, when I look at proposals, those that stand out typically include two things: ambition and practicality. So those are proposals that not only generate knowledge, but that create frameworks that countries can readily adapt. And I think this conference and Soschi as a project is evidence that this is possible. Now, these projects normally share three characteristics. The first one is that they produce evidence that is timely, that is relevant, and that can be easily adopted within the context or the local context. Without this evidence, we cannot design bespoke interventions that we need. However, generating the evidence is not the only important part of the puzzle. You need to have strong local capacity. 2 days ago, as part of the opening remarks, it was mentioned that currently across Africa, there is an increased trend in the number of Masters of Science and PhD candidates that are taking, or well, not candidates, people with PhDs that are taking important roles in academia and in government. However, despite the presence of those strong and valuable knowledge and skills, many individuals still lack the opportunities for contributing meaningfully to research and governmental initiatives. So to address this, what we need is a shift of thinking. So we need to move from capacity building, which is a framework that I have been hearing a lot over the past couple of days, and start thinking more about capacity sharing and move the model rather than from one person teaching the other or one team teaching the other. Think more about how can we share experiences, how can we exchange ideas so that we can grow together. Second, I think research has to be designed for integration. So, as I mentioned during the previous remark, climate and health problems are complex problems, and they interact with many other sectors like water, agriculture, and etc. The proposals that move the needle typically align transdisciplinary science with policy and with diplomacy. So those are projects that are thinking about the pathway to impact in terms of policy influence and changing the way in which things are conducted in the decision-making teams. So those are projects that can be easily embedded within national systems and that can be adopted in the short term. And lastly, I think the last characteristic that I think has been common across these projects is projects that think about sustainability from the start. If we only plan for the short term or for the grant period, well, once the initial funds run out, the project collapses. We need to start thinking about real sustainability plans and create systems that last, that adapt, and that keep delivering results even after the initial fund runs out. I know this is complicated, and even at Wellcome, we don't have what the right answer might be for delivering this across a different set of programs. But if we start discussing this early in the process of bringing a proposal together, then with your help, we will be more able to create the sustainable pathways to funding that are needed for making sustainability a reality. So in my opinion, those are the characteristics of the projects that shift the needle.
Thank you so much. That's super helpful, I think, for everyone in the room. And I love that from capacity building to capacity sharing. I think that's really in the spirit of what we're trying to do here. So thank you. I'll turn to Dr. Zakari next, given that you're doing a lot of work on climate and health research as part of Lancet Countdown. So your work tracks the pulse of climate and health research across Africa. From your perspective, where is the most concerning evidence gaps and ones that, if filled, would genuinely shift decision-making for governments? And that perhaps speaks to Felipe's point about pathways to impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The Wellcome Trust tracks, the Lancet Countdown tracks the impacts of climate change on health across 5 domains with over 40 indicators. So already we have indicators that I think government can already pick on and work, like across health hazards and impacts, like how climate change is affecting infectious diseases, mortality, and also adaptation planning, tracking countries that are making plans to protect cities and people, and also tracking indicators on mitigation actions and health co-benefits. And I think the one area that's also important is the politics, the economics and finance, to be able to quantify how much of, if someone wants to do this adaptation, how much is this going to cost? Due to exposure to extreme heat, how much of your GDP are you losing because people are not able to go out to work in agriculture, in production, in the services? So these are some of the evidences that when we bring on board, policymakers begin to listen, because I've come to understand that most governments and policymakers understand the GDP language even more than the health language. So these are areas we can improve indicators on. But also looking into the Lancet Countdown itself, there are some areas that we think if there was enough data, robust data, we could have created some indicators. For example, around even within the existing indicators, there was 2023, there was a gender summit in Accra, and we were invited to give a presentation on how climate change impacts women, the health of women. And we looked through our indicators, then there were 43 indicators. There were only 6 of them that we could disaggregate by sex. So even improving the data that goes into these indicators and being able to highlight some of these vulnerabilities, because we know pregnant women, the impact of pregnant women, the heat on pregnant women could be different from men. But if we don't have this disaggregated data that can be put into the models to highlight these, then governments cannot prioritize. When I took a course in epidemiology some time ago, the professor, we were discussing how to control for confounding, and the professor was stressing that you need to think about this at the planning stage of your project. If you don't think about it and collect the data at the planning stage, then when you come to analyze, then once you don't have the variable in there, you cannot put it in there. So as studies are going on, there's a lot of investment in climate and health. As we design the studies, we should begin to think about how we could collect different data, demographic data, that could later be disaggregated to highlight spotlights that governments can prioritize and put interventions. Another impact of climate change on health that we would like to have an indicator on is the impact of climate change on mental health. I know there are some case studies that link climate change on mental health, but not enough to develop a robust indicator at scale to try and understand that in, let's say, the past year, there were 40 floods that led to this number of mental health conditions. We have an indicator that tracks sentiment, online sentiment, but that is just closer, a bit closer. It relates to how people feel about things, climate change impacts, but we would like to get closer to mental health itself. Also, climate change impacts on migration, climate-related migration. These days, I listen to the news a lot. If we can have a strong attribution that someone moving from one country to another is caused by climate-induced climate change, induced flooding, can we then use that as basis to seek asylum? Or if you arrive at the gate of a big emitter, for example, like in Europe, what would be the ethical and the legal implications for sending this person back if you have caused that climate change that is bringing this person to your doorstep, for example. So some of these data have both legal and moral implications if you are able to highlight them. Thank you.
That definitely reflects our experiences on the Soschi project in terms of the importance of disaggregation and the challenges around that to target vulnerable groups, and also mental health is an emerging and important area. So thank you for that. Maybe extending the policy question further, if I can bring Dr. Chirumba in on this one. You work directly with ministries and health systems. From an implementation standpoint, what kind of research or climate and health interaction indicators would you be happy to see, and what evidence would help health systems anticipate climate-sensitive risks earlier and act more swiftly?
Thank you, Bonang, for that part of the question. I think when we look at the implementation perspective, the most valuable climate health research and indicators are those that will enable ministries of health to be able to anticipate risks and to be able to act early. It's those that will help ministries of health to be able to move from being reactive, having reactive responses, to being proactively being prepared. So that's the area we believe that ministries would need more information. As emphasized, the World Health Organization recently, the member states agreed during the World Health Assembly on the resolution WHA 77.4, which talks about the need to integrate climate indicators into existing health surveillance systems. And that's really key. And of course, we already heard about the importance of data disaggregation, because if you haven't disaggregated the data already and collected it, you won't be able to understand some of the critical equity issues. So age, gender, location, disability are critical in terms of the data disaggregation. So I will mention a few of the specific areas. So first, we need high-resolution climate health risk indicators. So if one looks at just quickly at a few examples, with regards to diseases like malaria, dengue, and cholera, we need heat-adjusted disease indicators. And of course, those may need to come out of some transmission models on those diseases that take into account the heat situations. Air quality related respiratory risk indicators and profiles are critical. And then with regards to nutrition, drought linked nutrition indicators or WASH vulnerability indicators, which will be linked to the weather, to the temperature, etc. So when we then have a combination of these indicators with the routine health system data, then when you then have a linkage between, for example, service readiness data, community vulnerability maps and such, then we will be able to pinpoint specific hotspots where the health systems may be stressed before or during outbreaks or during surges. So those are some of the key indicators that we would need. WHO's Global Health Risks Report, so WHO has produced a risk report, highlights that, for example, air pollution and unsafe water are the leading threats in our continent. And therefore, it's key to make sure we have targeted indicators, as already mentioned earlier on, which will be crucial for action. The second area is climate-sensitive disease prediction models and clear impact thresholds. So we need to translate climate anomalies like temperature spikes, like rainfall deviations, flood alerts, into early warnings for the health systems. So the evidence showing that the lead time between climate signals and health outcomes would help ministries of health to, for example, pre-position supplies, to make sure that they mobilize rapid response teams and they adjust their operations before crisis escalates. So, for example, you can then, it will be helpful to have decision dashboards that clearly link climate data with health surveillance for climate-sensitive diseases, which would then guide interventions. And then third, we need to assess the health sector's carbon footprint. That's really key. So we need research, we need data that quantifies the emissions from the health systems, that identify the evidence-based decarbonization pathways, which would then support both climate resilience and sustainable health systems. And this is in line with the WHO guidance on climate resilient healthcare facilities. And then finally, we need, and I think that's been referred to, implementation-focused research. And this needs to show the climate-informed surveillance, which can be integrated, for example, into DHIS2. We heard yesterday about some of the work that's beginning to start, looking at cost-effectiveness of anticipatory action, governance models for cross-sectoral and cross-border collaboration. So we need evidence that links climate data with operational decisions. For example, issues of staffing, outreach, risk communication, because all these ensure that ministries of health are able to act swiftly and confidently. So in summary, one can say most useful research and indicators are those that turn climate information into practical early decision intelligence for health systems, which would then enable ministries of health to protect communities before climate-sensitive risks escalate. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. I think very clearly explained there about the importance of integrating climate and health indicators into health surveillance systems. Petronella, your work sits at the intersection of evidence and international climate negotiations. We have a lot of different African countries represented at the conference this week. And so I think it would be interesting to hear from you what evidence gaps weaken Africa's voice at global tables, and where do we urgently need stronger data to unlock climate finance and drive adaptation priorities?
So I think if you'll allow me, I'd really like to get off. I don't want to be modest about my response here. I think we sit, as Agnes, we sit at a very interesting space because we get to hear the priorities of of African negotiators. And then in its sense also, we get to understand what are their needs, and then challenges in terms of how do they present their case at the global forums. And when you sent this question, I reflected about the question through the week. I've been listening to all that we have discussed, and I just came up with 3 main points that I feel like we have discussed, but it'll be very important for us to internalize. The first thing is, I'll go back to my previous point when you asked about the priorities for evidence and where we should focus our research on attribution. Listening to the different presentations being shared yesterday and the day before, we have the evidence, we have the information. I mean, the room in itself has the right expertise to push in terms of data, modeling, and all these other things that we're trying to come up with AI and all this information. But the challenge we're seeing is this information has to be recognized, be identified from some sort of place. And I see the IPCC being a good avenue where we can all be able to contribute and communicate what we are putting up forward. But unfortunately, actually, I don't want to quote a percentage because I'm not quite sure about the percentage, but there's a very limited percentage of African researchers who are within this IPCC process. And as we prepare for AR7, there's an opportunity for us to be able to communicate and put up our information there so that we can show the African, narrative, the case studies that we have in terms of our interventions and what we do. And quoting the IPCC, this is health research in Africa is limited. Yet we have experts in the room, we have young scientists coming up. I mean, attribution in itself, trying to link the impacts of climate change to how it relates to health. That in itself has been a challenge over time, but following the different discussions we're having over the years, from COP26, where we had the ATTACH coming up with operational framework that as 29 countries signed up to commit to pushing the health narrative. From that time, we've seen different scientists coming up, but unfortunately, there's limited information in terms of research on this IPCC process. So currently, just to spread the word, there's a call for authors on different chapters within the IPCC. You can decide to look at where you fit best, and please encourage the rest to submit. If you're not aware of this information, when you look at the Africa Group of Negotiators Expert Support website and pages, we publish there. We share information on where you're supposed to link your research, who do you need to reach out to, who are your IPCC focal points in the different countries that you're coming from, to know, okay, I have my research, how do I present this? To the universities, this should also apply in itself as well. We have, universities producing different graduates who are producing fantastic research, but yet it simply just remains at a level of merit to get your degree, but to encourage to put up our work, to put up a case for Africa, it will be useful to us to target the high impact journal, which I know has its own challenges, but unfortunately we need to be able to push ourselves to see how we can put the African narrative within these global processes. The second bit is on, because the question was on what weakens Africa's voice in the global negotiations, is impact data. And this is not just about the climate health research and the linkage of the impact of climate change, no. It's about, we have different interventions even within the health space that we have put in place in terms of, you want to say, the linkage of vector-borne diseases and climate change, and then you come up with, if it's malaria, you're putting up nets. I know there are other different interventions. But then do we go back beyond implementation to see, are those interventions working, and how are we learning from them? That's also a challenge, because we are looking for finance, and the question was tried to weakening our voice, and also how do we unlock finance? We are limiting ourselves because we're not able to provide a case in terms of scaling our pilot projects, because we have such good interventions, but unfortunately, the post-implementation part is lacking. So we clear with the donors, it's like, oh yeah, good, we have an M&A plan, we're monitoring our progress, but post-implementation, you realize when you go back to the community 2 years later, they tell you whatever you proposed is not even being used at all. Why? Because this, fine, it did not work, but can you go back and find out what can we do in order for us to replicate this study or replicate this intervention, but in a better way that could be able to be scaled forward. So a lot of our work remains at the pilot stage, but you have an opportunity to go back and look at, did that pilot really make sense? And how do we tweak in our interventions to be able to increase investment? Because it's all about scaling and unlocking finance. Logically speaking, if I am a financier, I would want to go back and ask you, okay, you would ask requesting for more money for a particular project, but then the question is, what did you learn from it? How are you going to do it differently? So this comes to the aspect of, I like the comment on sustainability of our project. Beyond the project investment cycle of funding, can that investment sustain itself? So let's also go back and look at the post-implementation part of our intervention so that then we can unlock finance in that way. The other bit is on how we develop our bankable proposals, and this has to do with, again, finance. When you negotiate and then in the global spaces, a lot of times we are calling on climate finance, and I think that is usually a big hindrance in terms of even furthering the discussion beyond we need to discuss about something. So finance is always like a blockage, which ties into the means of implementation, finance being one of them, capacity building, and also knowledge transfer. So in finance specifically for governments in Africa, we might want to look at how we develop our proposals and ensure specifically for health. Let's give a very good climate rationale that can be able to clearly see the linkage, and this ties back to the aspect of attribution. clearly shows the linkage of this this health outcome is linked to climate change impact. There in itself, even as you develop your proposal, your climate rationale is strong enough for you to push forward and say, yeah, this is relevant for and a priority for us as a country, and we are able to get finance to be able to invest in different interventions. So the 3 points: invest in research and know where we're supposed to put it there, and then number 2, invest in post-implementation after we've developed our interventions to scale our pilots beyond just being pilots and learn from them. Then the last part is on building our capacity to develop bankable proposals specifically for climate health. Strengthening that climate rationale bit, I believe we'll be able to unlock finance as a continent. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think some empowering stuff there for researchers in the audience as well. So thank you for that contribution. I do want to leave enough time for the audience to ask their questions. So just one final quick fire round from the panel. If you had $10 million to invest tomorrow in climate and health intelligence, where would you allocate it first and why? Just 1 minute from each of you, please. Petronella, are we okay to start with you?
Yeah, so 10 million, wow, okay. And not just Kenya shillings, US dollars. So I think I will look at strengthening our skills-based training, like investing in skills. Beyond just being at the Africa Group of Negotiators Expert Support as a researcher, I'm also a student by my own right, yeah, pushing the academic hurdles as we are doing from colleagues in the room. And I think most of our institutions are focusing more towards the theoretical bits of, of knowledge sharing, but I would focus more into skills-based training, and this is specifically targeted to universities and even the research institutions. I'm grateful to the partners here who I can see within their own, like Ames RIC, focus so much on strengthening that, innovativeness in terms of using the emerging technologies to provide research and all these bits. So I will definitely use that money to invest in skills-based training for Africa. And if we are to link that to health, then this will be able to help us build our understanding of, the barriers that might limit us in scaling our evidence. So we would have the right models, the right methods to use to be able to help us provide the right evidence that we'll then use to unlock finance and build a rationale as a country. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Zakari?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I rather think 10 million is too small, but we can, for Africa, it's small. But we can prioritize. I think we often say that we don't have data, but now there's a lot going on. DSI Africa is there, Soschi is there, Lancet Countdown Africa, other initiatives, Wellcome Trust, Climate and Health Hubs, other hubs and different projects going on. In the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of data on health and climate change. We need skills development, as has already been used. We need to train data scientists. We need to train people who can pick up this data and make sense out of it. If you look at the distribution of who is producing the climate and health data science in Africa, it's mainly South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana. This cannot continue into the next 10 years. We need to, I think Dr. Philippi mentioned about, is it capacity sharing? We need to focus on some of these. There are some pockets of Africa that we really need to enhance their skills or build capacity. And also, I think yesterday it was emphasized that we are not the best communicators. We can go into areas like science communication and build people who can pick up the evidence and go and sell it, who can even sell it better than us, so that our job will be, this is the evidence, go and pitch it to the policymakers and let them work with it. Thank you.
Well, two things. First one, I would second Petronella's idea of strengthening attribution. 2 years ago, we commissioned a report that discovered that over the past 25 years, there's only been, at that time, there were only 11 papers published on formally attributing climate change impacts on human health. Attribution, as Maya mentioned yesterday or the day before yesterday, is not a trivial task, and it has to deal with lots of complexities. However, we do not have sufficient capacity all over the world. It's not an African problem. It's a global problem. We don't have sufficient capacity at the moment to undertake the task of attributing climate change impacts on health. And this is important because one of the first questions that policy and decision makers ask when a major extreme event happens is, well, to what extent climate change has been responsible for the health outputs that the health outcomes that are resulting after this extreme event. The reality is that we don't know, and most likely we will not know because we are not prepared for doing this type of study. So one of the things would be creating more or strengthening capacity for attribution studies, and second, created translation labs so that the evidence that is generated can be translated into national adaptation plans or health guidelines. And the second thing that I would probably suggest to invest in is on creating the right level of demand for climate services for health. I think the health sector in general at the global scale is ill-prepared for demanding the right services from the climate systems that are currently in place. So we need this capacity because without climate information, in many sectors we're flying blind. And by adding this extra layer of information into our decision-making plans, we will have some level of evidence and some level of warning ahead of time if we know how to manage this information. So we can deliver more policy and relevant data, we can enable early warning systems as Professor Shirombo said, and we will be able to deal with multiple factors in the real time, and that will help us reduce morbidity, mortality, and it will reflect on the number of lives being saved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I had two, but I think one has been spoken to, but I'll just highlight it. So I think that's the funding of comprehensive long-term research on air pollution and health impacts. So that's the attributable one. So I think it's been discussed. I think the other one that I wanted to go back to is the issue of establishing and enforcing national air quality standards. I think as I emphasize, pollution, both indoor and outdoor, is a major driver of the NCDs of ill health. But unfortunately, most of our African countries lack formal air quality regulations. There are very few countries. I think in Africa we have, I think, about 17, which includes Rwanda, but most of the countries don't have. So I think I would use some of that money to help countries to develop their national air quality standards and the regulations, because that would then ensure that we begin to address all the millions of people who are exposed to harmful pollutants and where we are not able to, because we actually don't know. We're actually, flying blind totally. So I think that's one critical area, because that would then ensure that we have monitoring infrastructures, policy enforcement, because without the standards, you can't do any of those things. And then that would then drive the measurable reductions in respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, for example, because we know that air pollution is a major driver there. And then that would provide us with a foundation for healthier urban living. So I would focus on air quality standards and make sure they are actually implemented. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think we probably have around 15 minutes for Q&A with the audience. Thank you very much to the panel for your insights on the moderated questions. If we can maybe take 3 or 4 questions initially, and then the panel will answer. As you give your question, please raise your hand and stand and state your name and affiliation so we know who you are. If we can start, gentleman with the white T-shirt. Is there a mic near him?
All right. Good morning. Once again, my name is Dr. Vincent Pagiwa. I'm from the University of Botswana and also part of the Climate Health Africa Network for Collaboration and Engagement, the Chance Network. Actually, mine is not a question, but also really an addition to the wonderful answer that the panel gave. If we're to be given a $1 million today, in addition, I think it's $10 million, yes. So I think that's a very good question, and also I think they gave a very good, almost a similar answer of capacity building in various aspects on climate change and health. And I think in addition, the thing that struck my heart when I was seated, I was like, we really forget about the most crucial part of the system, which is the healthcare workforce or the health professionals. These are the key people that actually are really at the forefront when it comes to health outcomes or the health system. So I think it's part of the money we could channel to them, build capacity on them so that they're able to be trained to recognize, to monitor, and also to respond, because they're the ones who actually are dealing with the health risks. So at this point, I think we should make them understand the key indicators, the key environmental and climatic indicators, so they're able to link those to the health systemic indicators quickly, and they can give us timely data if they are able to record correctly from health facilities. It was shocking that recently we did a scoping review to check what are the interventions that are being applied to health facilities in terms of adaptation. We realized only 10 papers in Africa so far in the past few years actually has shown that there are few adaptation interventions that have been taken place. It shows that health facilities and those people working in health facilities, they're still left behind when it comes to being prepared for climate-related health risks. So I think my part of the money, my panelists, we could try and capacitate those people which are really on the forefront. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Bagiwa. In the front here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Samuel Duche from Ghana. I lead Hato Foundation. Yeah, if I am giving $10 million, okay. One, I would invest the money in the air quality sector, looking at young people, master students and PhD students, and train them how to write policy briefs, science policy briefs. Also, train African young negotiators, including African ministers of foreign affairs, because there is a growing trend of science climate diplomacy, which, if our ministers of foreign affairs are conversant with what the challenges are within the health sector in their country, it makes resource mobilization a little bit easier than when the knowledge remains exclusively with the scientists. The other thing that I will use the money for is to ensure that a select politicians, including ministers of finance, because if I have to make the case for continuous support, because the $10 million is just going to be a project money, how do I convince the Minister of Finance to continue providing budgetary allocation? I have to make the case that the climate implications in the area of health would reduce your GDP by S amount if you fail to invest in the health sector annually, not once in a while. So these are the issues that I will use the money for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Professor Mowili?
Yeah, okay, so thank you very much. For me, I think what has been missing for me in the discussion is improving data infrastructure in our different countries and in our different institutions. You see, I am happy to hear that the attribution studies is very useful in this context, but attribution studies cannot be done if we don't have sufficient and improved data quality. The scientists, the modelers, and all those who are doing all the nice models and so on would need data to be able to come up with those attribution studies. But I didn't hear any of the panelists telling us that they will help use part of that money to improve the data infrastructure in the different countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we take one more from the gentleman in the grey suit?
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity to discuss about the research. For instance, I can give you an example from the previous colleague what said. We have able to produce, for instance, one paper about the air quality. But when it comes to the data have been used, they recommend to you, so we have used the low cost optimal particular sensors. When it comes to review journal, they say that this monitor is not adequate. We should use reference grade monitors. So do you understand that even in the research, we are lacking high quality sensors? So I was asking, for instance, as a Wellcome Trust is investing a lot in climate and health, are you planning to extend the infrastructure so that those evidence based on the research, but will be based also on the good quality data? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're probably not going to have time for 2 rounds of questions, so I'll take those last 2 questions if that's okay, and then we'll do one round of answers. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Otilia from Namibia. I'm from Namibia Statistics Agency. We collect the data. We also coordinate data collection. I think what I wanted to, I think it's a good input from all the panelists. I just want to add that I have found that maybe in additional to what they have said, within sectors, we need, I think, to integrate statistical operations. Because I find that a lot of people who are handling the data within these sectors, they are not statisticians. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, the data are not collected as expected, the data are not managed as expected. That's why we are struggling by the researchers. And then so I'm just feeling that part of that money probably also part of to see how do we strengthen the statistical operation within sectors, beside the statistical office, because sometimes they cannot handle it alone. Infrastructure, and I think it's already spoken to. And then maybe I was also feeling that probably, I'm not sure, some countries says, but very, very few. It looks like we need a statistical national committee which look at probably different indicators by sector, how often the frequency they need to be corrected, and then also at the time before even they are corrected. I think there's a need to standardize, to understand what should be corrected already, and then I feel that if that is done, it will help the researchers, and then it will also help their analytical capabilities at the end of the day so that we improve to enhance national development, because it looks like there's not much of the link. The researcher came afterwards, and then we have already collected the data. It looks like we need to talk to each other more to improve data collection so that it talks to what the researcher needs so that they link the data to policy during their research. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Once again, my name is Dr. Ruth Minja from Tanzania National Bureau of Statistics. Thank you so much for very good discussions. I want to add on data used in Africa is not coming from Africa. I think this is very true, and a lot of initiatives are ongoing. I really appreciate yesterday I participated in breakout sessions. I noted very interesting studies conducted by young experts or young scientists from Kenya, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana. I noted also from Tanzania and the others. So to me, I think we have low-hanging fruits. If we invest, we take these young scientists and we scale their studies to cover more parts in our countries, I think that will be a very good start to build on the research to ensure that data which are used in our countries to inform climate health are really coming from the local areas. So I think that is one. And also with regards to sustainability, it is not the first time we are engaging into new emerging issues. I remember when we started the SDGs 2015, and also the Africa Development Agenda, the Africa We Want. What we did is to mainstream these development agendas into our national development frameworks. So I would propose to ensure that the Soschi indicators at the country level be mainstreamed into our national development frameworks to ensure that is part and parcel of our government undertakings. And doing so, it will be able to allocate funds after the project, and it will be part and parcel of our development agendas. In this way, we will be able to ensure sustainability of our good work we have initiated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there was lots there, but I think definitely the last 4 questions, interestingly, did focus on data infrastructure and the importance of quality data. So maybe if I can specifically invite Dr. Zakari to respond on that one as a fellow researcher. And then I think on the tracking of high quality data, the question was targeted at Felipe, so if you can give your views on that as well. And then maybe after those initial two reflections, I think the first 2 questions, maybe one for the question from Dr. Bagiwa from the University of Botswana. I know it wasn't a question, it was a comment, but I think maybe one that Dr. Chirombo, you can reflect on, because there was the point about capacity building of the healthcare workforce. And then the question at the front, I think, is a nice one for Petronella to answer on the point about training in writing policy briefs and the importance of science and climate diplomacy. If we can take them in that order. Thank you. If you're okay to comment on the data capacity and data infrastructure questions.
Yeah, I agree with the prof from Ghana who raised the question on improving on data infrastructure across the different countries. I think there's a need to improve that. We have in our various countries, we have statistical service departments, and they hold a lot of data, but sometimes it's how you access the data that's an issue. Sometimes you go through a lengthy process, sometimes you need to even apply for ethical clearance before, so we need to try and make some of these more available and make some of these online so that you can have a simple online application, but also initiatives such as the DSI Africa Consortium seeks to train data scientists and to make data on health and climate change create a centralized platform where you can access different forms of climate and health data. So some of these initiatives, this is more of an African consortium, and the data is not going to be a Tanzanian database, or so Tanzania will contribute data into that database, and all other countries will. So we can support such initiatives to make data more available. If you are in South Africa and you want to do an analysis across all of Africa, you don't have to write to the various statistical bureaus in all these 54 African countries. You can go to this single platform and you access the variables that you need for the different countries. I think such initiatives are laudable, and different countries and different statistical departments should have a buy-in to make this a success.
Thank you.
Well, regarding the question as to whether Welcome supports initiatives for digital infrastructure and improving data quality, definitely. Actually, that's the core remit of the team that I belong to, which is called Data for Science and Health. Everything we do is related to improving both digital infrastructure and digital innovation in different fields. I lead the portfolio on climate and health, but there's another team on mental health and infectious diseases and discovery research, and also cross-cutting initiatives that we support for strengthening capacity and building more digital infrastructure globally. And our work can be classified into three, or organized into three main buckets. The first one is data. So we improve not only the amount of data that is being collected, or we fund research that improves the number of data assets that are being generated, but also that we support projects that are trying to improve data quality. And we do that with, for example, well, Soschi is one of these examples, right? So you are generating new indicators, but to generate the indicators, you need data, and there's some data quality processes that may be happening in the background. But we're also supporting the integration of these climate and health data assets. For example, we support the integration of longitudinal population studies with climate information. For example, we support the Fiocruz in Brazil to integrate a longitudinal population study cohort that combines information for over 100 million people with climate and health, with climate information and environmental data, trying to ascertain what are the impacts of climate on health in that particular population and try to generalize to other populations if possible. We're also supporting the Barcelona Supercomputing Center in a project that is called Harmonize, that is trying to integrate also different sources of information, not only climate, but environmental and socioeconomic, with health data, trying to understand, well, the purpose is trying to understand what are the impacts of climate and climate change on human health, and try to forecast into the near future. The second bucket is tools, and in terms of tools, we support the creation of digital infrastructure and innovative tools for the climate and health space. And for example, we recently supported a call for that is supporting now more than 24 projects across the world that are generating innovative methods and innovative tools for modeling climate-sensitive infectious diseases. We're supporting the generation of new evidence and new tools for doing attribution science for the climate and health sector, and we are also supporting initiatives that are leveraging artificial intelligence for doing evidence synthesis of climate and health information. And the last bucket is talent, and in terms of talent, we are trying to improve and support the generation of more talent in the data science space for climate and health issues. And we have here one member of the Climate Sensitive Infectious Disease Network, which is one of the initiatives that we have, where we are supporting a cohort of people for doing improved modeling and doing a series of events to strengthen capacity globally, but particularly in the Global South for doing innovative modeling initiatives. We're supporting data.org, the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, and JPAL South Asia, to create two hubs, one in India and one in Sub-Saharan Africa, that are strengthening capacity for data science in the social impact organization field. And we are also supporting capacity, as I said before, for attribution. So we're not only generating the evidence and the tools for attribution, but we're also trying to strengthen the capacity on attribution science globally. So data, tools, and talent are the three buckets and the three areas where we try to focus our work, and that are being used for strengthening capacity and improving data quality globally.
Thank you. Dr. Chirombo, if you can come in on the capacity building of the healthcare workforce.
Yes. So let me sort of give the big picture first, which is key. So in the health sector now, the acceptance of the importance of addressing climate and health has now come through. It's taken a lot of years of advocacy to get that move. So as WHO, we now have a 5-year strategy, which is starting this year. And climate and health is now, for the first time, one of the 4 pillars of the work of WHO. And that strategy is actually not a WHO strategy, but it's a strategy developed with member states. So, which means climate and health has become a critical core part of our work. As you know, the recently completed COP is the first time that health has become part of the negotiations. So what that means is the whole work on climate and health is now a critical and core part of all the work that we do as WHO, as member states need to actually be doing. So in that regard, it's critical, totally agreed. One of the core pieces of work we have to start doing is to help build the technical capacity of health workers in climate and health. And we as WHO are already working, we already have, but we're developing training programs that will equip health workers with knowledge and skills on not only climate-sensitive diseases, but how to actually handle all the climate-related issues, reducing the carbon footprint, etc. We talked about the early warning and surveillance, so that's an area that we will definitely be working on building capacity, emergency response, health promotion. I think somebody talked quite a bit about that. So on the technical area, that's something that's already coming and programs are being developed. The other area I just wanted to highlight is the institutional capacity. So we also need to make sure that ministries of health at the leadership and governance level have the capacity to integrate climate and health in their programs. We already heard about the need to look at the plans, make sure that it's integrated, the implementation, the monitoring, all the aspects. We're also working on communities of practice to make sure that health workers will actually be able to engage in communities of practice. And then WHO has developed an operational framework on building climate-resilient health systems. So all these tools are already available, and yes, we will be working with ministries of health to develop guidance, training, materials, so that all health workers are actually capacitated on climate and health.
Thank you. Petronella, I'm going to cut you short and ask you to answer in 1 minute, if possible, the climate science diplomacy question. Thank you.
All right, so taking it off from what the presentation we just had from the previous speaker on capacity building, I think I just want to put a note on that capacity building is not really about workshops. I think there's no one meeting that we've not had where capacity has been mentioned. So we are slowly moving away from the workshop convening mentality to now all that has been put on the table in terms of being innovative and how we want to drive our capacity and enhance the skills of the different institutions. I think from all these institutions we have doctors, we have people who have scaled through the academic ranks, but then the issue is that we can develop very specific needs assessment that we can then align ourselves and identify where are the limitations and then address those limitations in a very innovative way, apart from just having workshops that might entirely, most of the time, becomes like a capacity building session. So let's think through how we want to address that. And now the point of the negotiations and how we need to scale understanding of how we need to build the narrative of climate and health, I would agree that indeed we need to bring our African ministers on board, in the sense that even as we discuss the narrative of climate and health from a scientific perspective, there's the other side of how this merges with the political angle within the negotiation spaces. So it might be useful that beyond just us as scientists sitting here in the room and planning on how we need to scale discussions on climate change and health, let's also think about how do we train our African ministers And here for ministers, not just about ministers of health only, but also the minister of environment. Because a lot of times in the UNFCCC process, there's precedence given to the African ministers of environment because of the climate change discussions happening or domiciled in our environmental ministries. So if all these two different ministries or ministers work together, there's a pull force that then helps us to provide traction and build the climate health narrative that we want to see within the global discussions. We've also received different requests as an institution, Agnes, to facilitate discussions on how we can then help the health discussions become a centralized agenda item within the UNFCCC process. But again, it needs to start with the narrative. We need to get it right there so that we understand from the narrative, which is essentially training technical experts on health on how to negotiate and communicate this narrative, and then bring on board our African ministers of health and environment. Together, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to push through the discussions of health pulling traction into the negotiation process. Yeah, that's what I'll mention. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Apologies, we've run out of time, but we will have a lunch break where you can take forward the conversations with the panelists. If you can join me with thanking them for generously sharing their time and expertise with such clarity. Thank you very much. I think we're going to move straight on to the next group work discussion. Shall I stay here if we're okay to have... Are you guys okay to stay here, or do you want to join the groups? Okay. So I'll go up to the podium and we'll go through the plans for the next session. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so is this working? We now have the next session on the future research roadmap, which I think builds nicely on that previous session. I think a few of you seem to like the question, the thought experiment on if you had $10 million US, how would you spend it? So maybe take that into the next session. It's going to be a group work. Where do I point this again? This way? Okay, so we've got an hour. I'll just set you up on what to expect. And then you'll break out into 3 groups, so the 2 back corners, and then we'll create a group at this front right-hand corner. In your groups, if you can nominate someone to feed back, and we'll have 15 minutes at the end for each group to feed back, and then I'll give a quick wrap-up. So that's how we'll spend the next hour. So the purpose of this session is to develop a future research roadmap for climate and health indicators. I think we've had such fruitful discussions over the last couple of days, and so I encourage you to bring those with you and into those group discussions and use that to inform the next steps that you propose. We only have an hour or less than that, half an hour within the groups, and usually these kind of roadmap sessions you would do over at least half a day or a whole day. So, you know, for that reason, each group is going to discuss a different theme, and I'll take you through that in a second. I think it's important to caveat as well that this is by no means a final plan. It's a living document that we encourage you to take away and continue to think about. And as I think there's a theme about capacity sharing and kind of sustaining this network that we've developed over the last few days. Some of the things to consider as we move forward, I think we need to think about what is our shared vision, what do we want to achieve in the next 5-10 years. I think part of what we want to take away from the networks we've built through this conference is identifying who are potential collaboration partners that we want to work with going forward. Central to this climate and health research work is how can we build on climate and health research and further develop the methods and tools that have been presented over the last couple of days. And then capacity building, again, a continuous theme. The slide there says national stats organisations, but I'm sure we can all agree that capacity building applies to other government bodies, producers of official statistics, everyone within this ecosystem, research bodies, etc. And then that, not just at the local level, national level, but also that global stage. How do we get that wider stakeholder engagement and agreement to collectively work together? So, these are the questions that each group will discuss. I think that corner is group 1, and they're going to try to answer the question, how do we ensure continuous development of climate and health methods and tools? And Cecil will facilitate that group. Then group 2 will be in that corner over there, and they will answer the question, how do we support capacity building with NSOs and other producers of official statistics to implement climate and health indicators? And Professor Mawuli will be facilitating that group. And then in the front corner here, we'll answer the question, how do we work collaboratively with global stakeholders to align existing frameworks? And Maya will be facilitating that discussion. I think you're all getting a number, so you'll be randomly allocated to one of those 3 groups. And once you get into your groups, if I can ask the facilitators to help us keep time, so perhaps kind of space out your half hour as shown on the slide. So in your groups, I think first think about what's the vision statement, where do you want to get to in terms of answering that question that's been posed to you, what does success look like? And then next stage, I think just sharing as many ideas as possible, and not just looking at the problems, but I think importantly to look at the solutions as well. And then just to try and bring it to a close, identify where the themes, where's the shared understanding of the common challenges and opportunities. And then I think importantly, because this is a future roadmap, and I expect you're probably going to generate a lot of ideas to help prioritize that, think about what can we do now, and what can happen next, and what can wait till further down the line. So just to help us prioritize where to. And then we'll have hopefully 15 minutes at the end if each group can take, 2 or 3 minutes, but I know usually it runs into more like 5, so each group will have a few minutes to feedback at the end, so do make sure you nominate someone in your groups to do that. So I'll leave you to it then. Group 1 in that corner, group 2 in that corner, and group 3 here. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you everyone. Give yourselves a hand. Okay, I'll hand over to group 1 then. Thank you.
Hi, okay. So the question we were handling as group 1 is how do we ensure continuous development of climate health methods and tools? So sustainability of these methods and tools. The first vision statement that we had was that we need to think about users of this data and this should essentially mean encouraging multi-stakeholder engagement, collaboration, have the users on board as we develop these methods and tools, so that then we're able to continuously improve on them. The second part is, the second point on the vision statement is we need to build on existing tools. So the vision there is that we look at a situation where we're able to map our existing tools and ensure that those upcoming ones are also compatible with the existing system, not just building systems over and over again, but rather using the existing tools, look at them, and then ensure the upcoming ones are also compatible with the existing ones. The third bit is on the validation bit. So when looking at the aspects of validation, we need to be able to, which this ties into data, that looking at our methods and tools, use these existing users to validate some of these methods to ensure that they are being used over time. The last part is to break silos of data. So this is not just about our vision statement. So we need to break silos of data. So we are it's a visionary goal of seeing a situation whereby we have working together as opposed to working in fragmented systems. The next bit is now, what are the possible solutions? The common opportunities and challenges. Yes, that's the second. Yes, the common opportunities and challenges, which are limiting continuous development of climate health methods and tools. The first one is on availability and usability of data. So this is prone to be a challenge. Data is available, but then it's still in silos. So we have data, but still in silos. So then we need to be able, that's an opportunity as well, because if we work together through our vision, we are able to ensure we have data available. The next challenge that we saw is limited technical capacity to use these methods and tools. So the opportunity there is we are able to train our different technical teams to understand how to use these methods and tools, and thereby becomes an opportunity at the end. The last bit is data fragmentation. So data is available in different formats and templates. So looking at the aspects of interoperability of our data systems, so that then even as you're getting data from whatever sources, if we have similar templates or templates are harmonized, it's easier to use this information. The opportunities we are seeing here, across all these challenges, the main opportunity that we are also seeing will, at the end of the day, help us to answer the aspect or to address the issue of data sharing, to share knowledge. And then also the other bit was, we'll be able to also get other inputs through involving the different users and helping them to, working together to develop tools. We're able to see that our different inputs incorporate the traditional non-conventional processes, which are mainly just traditional. We also brainstorm on some possible solutions. The first one, which is just add on into the other points. Number one, build on existing tools, make the methods user-friendly, invest in continuous improvement, so that aspect of adaptive learning, invest in data infrastructure, strengthen our institutional frameworks with clear roles to support data collection. So this should be an open room for transdisciplinary approach, and then also invest in dissemination of this information so that our work does not just remain in our different institutions, but also are able to support impact or to create impact. Prioritization of activities. So how do we, sort of prioritize what we need to do to ensure continuous development of climate health methods and tools? Number one, as we invest in good quality data, we need to prioritize, again, good quality data. The second part on what we need to prioritize as a team is the foundation of data production. So we need to set good infrastructure from the beginning and design systems all the way from where data is collected all the way up, so that then we have the right information that you can use in our models. Thanks, that's for group one.
Very much. We are going to run out of time, so rather than taking us through your whole group discussion, again, if group two, if you can just focus on the vision for the future and the next step, the immediate next step. What's the top priority? If you can do that in 2 minutes.
Hello? Yeah, so this is group two presenting. Our vision is to be the trusted provider of climate health official statistics, good governance, and sustainable development. Now, how do we support capacity building and innovative practical solutions? We have quite a number, but I'll run through quickly. Climate and health capacity and needs assessment need to be conducted to be able to identify the gaps and also have a very quick SWOT analysis in terms of the strength, the weaknesses, and the opportunities, as well as the threats in the system. So in terms of capacity, we define the capacity in terms of human resource, institutional, and governance support needs, data infrastructure, data collection, analysis, and utilization. The gaps identified should also include things to do with the infrastructure, the ICT infrastructure, need for harmonization, frameworks and methodology, as well as guidelines. Identify key performance indicators to be able to track progress, strategies to embed and mainstream into the existing frameworks as well as guidelines at various levels. Collaboration among institutions, resource mobilization and budgetary allocation, uptake for planning and climate health responsive decisions. So we prioritize this listed, and we have 3. The first has to do with collaboration. We need to bring all the various institutions together and sensitize them on the need to work together to avoid working in silos. 2, capacity building based on the identified gaps from our needs, capacity needs assessment, and also adopt and adapt indicators in frameworks and guidelines. 3rd, mainstreaming and embedding in existing data collection, analysis, and utilization systems at the various levels, the national as well as the sub-national levels. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, yes, I was about to say, very impressive, given the limited time that you have to have such a clear set of priorities. So thank you so much. And I think crossover with the first group in terms of methods, capacity building and methods and tools as well. So thank you. Okay, last group. Last group then.
So as for the group 3, we were asked to identify on how do we collaborate, do we come collaboratively with some kind of global stakeholders to align the existing framework. So basically, I don't want to go to the detail again. We also talk about the mapping of the stakeholders and so on. But based on that, our vision was the need of common reporting systems that can be supported by local focal points to the national local point and then till the global local point. And this has to be this has to take into account some kind of the system alignment that are coming from different organizations that can also be supported by communication among the different stakeholders in taking into account their different ways of working based on their different framework, and this at the end to be able to achieve the a different outcome, which is to come on, I think I forgot this point, some kind of harmonization in terms of our outcome. So when it comes to the next steps, we mentioned here that it's important to be able to define the different targets that we want. Also identify the keywords that we need in this vision, and also achieve some kind of alignment, as I was saying, in a way that coherence among the different framework, and also align in terms of policy based on the diversity that are in the different framework. And also, we also mentioned that it's also important to come up with some kind of standardized framework in terms of data, the metadata, and how are we measuring those data. Also, set some kind of guidelines that can also align to consider the different framework, but also be able to compare them. And then at the end to achieve this kind of an harmonized framework that can be aligned to the policy context. So I don't know if I tried to capture what we discussed in the group, but yeah, this is what we did. Thank you. Yeah.
I think you probably had one of the most challenging questions. The alignment to existing frameworks is incredibly challenging, so thank you for that clear reflections back. If you can all give yourselves a round of applause, and I'll hand back to the MC for where we go to next.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I think another round of applause to everyone. Yeah, from our chair to our speakers, to everyone that also presented right now. So we will go now for a coffee break, but we'll be in coffee break for only 15 minutes. Now, as we also go for coffee break, right at this side of the room, when you step out, in case you came in today and you did not go to the registration desk, please go there so that our team can scan you and they know that you came today. So we can please go for coffee break and we'll be back in exactly 15 minutes. Enjoy. welcome back, everyone. Can we please be seated? All right, thank you so much. Please be seated, everyone, so that we start. Thank you so much, and I hope you had a good coffee break. Now we are moving to the final part of the conference, which we call the closing sessions. And if there are people that have come for this conference who are not in the room right now, please get them to be here. Because at some point, when we mention your country and we cannot find you, we would assume that you did not come. Okay. Now to start the closing session, we are going to have a conclusion and joint communique from the Soschi Conference and implementation of climate and health indicators. To kick us off on this closing session, I would like to invite Dr. Meyer Klickman to start us off. Dr. Meyer, please, round of applause as it comes.
Thank you. So to begin this session, I'm just going to take the opportunity again to thank everyone who's been involved in the organisation of this conference and all the speakers, all the researchers who've contributed. You can't have a good conference without finishing with some kind of closing statement or announcement. And we really appreciate the support that we've had from many different experts, from people from different countries for the Soschi project, and the recognition of the value of that work, and where we hope we'll be able to go together, following up on that project and implementing it. We've drafted a concluding statement with a little bit of background and the kind of aspirations and agreements that we think this conference will support. And we're going to, you've been given that on paper. We'll also go through it on the screen. And I hope that everyone will give that statement its support. I am going to ask Dr. Bernice from the Ghana Statistical Service, who is a member of our steering group, to present that to you. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome back from the snacks break, and we are here to look at the conclusions and the joint communique that has been put together so far. So just to introduce, to let you know that we all have identified that climate change is the greatest threat to public health in the 21st century, and the effect of climate change undermines progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals through direct and indirect effects on health, environment, food and water security. And there's also the urgent need for better information about the health impact of climate hazards to support. I'm here just to give the salient points because I know the documents has been shared for your inputs. So, according to the World Health Organization at the COP30, the Belém Health Action Plan, it is essential for countries to enhance epidemiological and environmental monitoring capacities to support evidence-based measures that prevent or reduce climate-related health impacts in line with global health adaptation commitments. So with this, we need Soschi to provide a statistical framework for measuring key health impacts of climate change Its proposed indicators have been endorsed by the United Nations Expert Group on Climate Change and Environment Statistics, in line with what we call the Global Set of Climate Change and Statistics and Indicators, and even the Framework for the Development of Environment Statistics. So this conference of senior government officials, scientific experts, and other stakeholders from national, regional, and global institutions has received and discussed information about the Soschi indicators and the wider picture on climate and health data in Africa, and supports the following conclusions. So 4A, that the Soschi indicators should be implemented and integrated into the statistical system to support strategies on climate and health, focusing on priority areas such as extreme weather, water-related health impacts, vector-borne diseases, and mental health, and other, according to the different national situations. 4B, that there's the need to strengthen statistical capacity in the low and middle-income countries, and this adds to the already compelling need for further improvement across Africa in civil registration and vital statistics system, and the efficient collection of health data. 4C, that because these indicators require complex multi-sectorial data, they highlight the need for more efficient data sharing among organizations, and also some kind of a memorandum of understanding needs to take place within the institutions. And the D, the collaborative approach of Soschi projects shows the benefit of co-production of globally relevant methods and standards across regions and sectors. So from here, we note important initiatives that we need to improve the measurement of health impacts of climate change from global organizations such as the WHO and UNICEF, and the regional organizations and networks such as Africa CDC and CHANS. We encourage all stakeholders to work together closely to share knowledge, increase impact, and speed up progress. So this, to conclude, we invite all the NSOs, the Ministries of Health, research institutions, and funders to join in as we pilot and scale up the Soschi framework and working towards the improvement in statistical capacity and data availability, so that together we can deliver validated climate health metrics that will inform policy, strengthen resilience, and safeguard population health in the face of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernice. Now we'll go to the closing remarks on behalf of HAMES as the host of the Soschi Conference. And I'm honored to bring on stage Professor Sam Yala, who is the HAMES Network President. A round of applause as Prof comes.
Distinguished guests, partners, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, bon après-midi, and in Rwanda we say also miriwe. Thank you. So as we are heading towards the end of this remarkable conference, I speak from the perspective of HAMES network, which is a Pan-African network in which mathematical sciences are not only taught, but more importantly, they are really translated into tools and actions that can address the real-world challenges, drive innovations, and also strengthen policy and ultimately enhance people's life. I think this conference is really exemplifies that. Our network HAMES spans over 5 countries, namely South Africa since 2003, Senegal since 2011, Ghana 2012, Cameroon 2013, and Rwanda since 2016. And here in Rwanda, we are proud to host not one, but actually 2 centers, EMS Rwanda Center and the EMS Research and Innovation Center that we call EMS RIC, which is your co-host for this Soschi Conference. And actually, when we look at the footprint of EMS, it's much larger than the geographic area and regions that we are operating from, those 5 countries, because in terms of footprint, when we look at the number of our students or the countries of origin of our students, they are coming from almost all across the continent, exactly 46 countries out of 54 countries, which is over 85% if I do my math correctly, which I guess is the case. So that's just to talk about that footprint, and we are very proud of partnering with many others on the continent to strengthen STEM research and innovation. So when the UK Office for National Statistics and Wellcome Trust selected Rwanda as a pilot country for Soschi and choose EMS RIC as an implementing partner, they entrusted us with an opportunity and a responsibility. And we are really grateful for that trust. To Wellcome Trust, thank you for your vision, for funding this initiative, and for believing that Africa can lead and should lead in defining global standards in climate health intelligence. To UK ONS and RIPS Ghana, thank you for your spirits of partnerships and scientific openness and for accompanying us on this journey. This initiative has done more than generate indicators of climate health interactions. It has enhanced Africa's capacity to conduct sophisticated implementation research that does not sit on some shelves or remain in academic journals, but which is really translated into products and services that directly benefits society. And that is really at the core of our mission at EMS. We believe that science achieves its full potential when it improves lives, informs decisions, and strengthens the resilience of our communities. Soschi has demonstrated that when the right partnerships come together with governments, academia, and development partners, Africa can produce world-class policy-ready tools that will serve the continent for decades. To our distinguished participants, your contribution has shaped this success. Indeed, this conference brought together participants from 23 countries, representing 65 institutions, national statistics offices, ministries of health and environment, research institutions, universities, UN agencies, and civil society organizations. Your engagement has been remarkable, but also you have shared insight, challenged some assumptions, co-created solutions, and enriched this initiative with perspective from across the continent and beyond. I hope you leave not only with knowledge, but also with new networks, collaborations, and ideas that will help build climate resilience in Africa. It's also my pleasure to appreciate the organizing teams A special note of thanks to the EMS-RIC team, to the UK ONS team, and to the RIPS Ghana team. Your dedication, professionalism, and attention to detail made this conference seamless and successful. And to all the volunteers, moderators, facilitators, and technical staff, thank you for your invaluable work, mostly sometimes behind the scene. As this conference concludes, our work continues. Soschi has generated momentum that we must sustain with existing partners and new ones who share this vision. EMS stand ready together with our collaborators to continue advancing climate health intelligence and supporting any country or institution that wishes to join this effort. Thank you once again for your time, your contribution, and commitment. And for those who traveled from abroad, we hope that you enjoyed your stay in Rwanda and that you will return back often. And why not? If the opportunity arises, you can work here, and contribute to the development of this wonderful country and Africa in joining the scientific community here in Rwanda. That's exactly what happened to me many years ago. I came to Rwanda for the first time to attend a conference like this one, which was also organized by EMS. Some of you may remember that. So I was very impressed by what I've witnessed in terms of the conducive environment for STEM development, for science, technology, and for innovation and many other things. So when the opportunity arose to be part of this remarkable journey and to join the scientific community here in Rwanda, I didn't hesitate 1 second. So on this personal note, I want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Murakoze cyane.
Thank you so much, Prof. Now to the final thing, well, to the final before final. I'd like to, we now have the closing statement from the Minister of Environment of Rwanda, ably represented here by the Director General for Meteo Rwanda, Mr. Hemebo Gahiju. Round of applause as it comes.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear partners and colleagues, it is my privilege to deliver these closing remarks on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Environment of Rwanda. Over the past 3 days, Kigali has hosted an exceptional gathering that united the best of science, policy, and practice to advance a vital mission, building a stronger, more resilient, over the past 3 days, Kigali has hosted an exceptional gathering that united the best of science, policy, and practice to advance a vital mission, building a stronger, more resilient future for Africa through climate health intelligence. Across the continent, climate change's impact on health is clear. Heat waves harm the vulnerable, floods and storms disrupt lives, vector and waterborne disease increase, and air pollution silently affect millions. These are not abstract trends, but daily realities. As highlighted in your discussions, without robust data, effective responses are impossible. Resilience begins with credible, timely, and trusted information. This is why the Soschi initiative is crucial and why Rwanda is proud to be pilot country leading this effort. Through the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, we are integrating Soschi indicators into national statistical systems to ensure reliable, independent production year after year. This work is supported by Rwanda Biomedical Center, Ministry of Health, Rwanda Environment Management Authority, Rwanda Space Agency, Rwanda Meteorology Agency, and others, enabling strong data flows, governance, and coordination. The conference recommendations stress that success depends on multi-sectoral collaboration and interoperable systems, an approach Rwanda embraces. The Ministry of Environment commitment is strong, demonstrated by our role on Project Advisory Committee and leadership by REMA Director General as chair. Linking climate data directly to health outcomes is a national priority. This conference underscores Africa's opportunity and responsibility to lead in climate health intelligence. Soschi indicators endorsed by the UN expert group offer scientifically robust, policy-relevant, and internationally comparable tools that save lives by enabling early warnings for malaria risks for extreme weather, predicting diarrhea disease surges, measuring the true impact of air pollution on health. These empower timely, evidence-based policy making. Thank you to all participants representing 23 countries and more than 65 institutions, whose dedication spans ministries, national statistical offices, academia, civil society, as well as multilateral and regional organizations. I extend a special gratitude to Soschi partners, the UK Office for National Statistics, EMS Research and Innovation Center, the Regional Institute for Population Studies at the University of Ghana, and the Wellcome Trust for their invaluable support. Our thanks also goes to the organizing team and local partners for delivering a conference of exceptional quality. As we conclude, remember, climate change is a great challenge, but our collective ability to respond, guided by data and united in purpose, is even greater. Rwanda looks forward to continuing collaboration, scaling this work, sharing lessons, and leading where needed. To our international delegates, we welcome your return and partnership. Thank you for your commitment, partnership, and transforming climate health data into action. Safe travels and see you at the next steps. Murakoze cyane.
Oops. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, DG. Now, we are about to finally close. But before we do that, I'd like to share a number of announcements, so please pay attention. So we have a number of people that have been asking our team, where are you taking us to for excursion? It's a free afternoon. What do we do? So you have the opportunity to go everywhere you want to, because now the conference will be closing. There is also the mining week happening this week, and maybe you've seen it when you were coming in. Now there's an exhibition that is happening just to my right, to my left, at MH 2 and 3. So if you're also interested to go there, it's a great opportunity to see what is happening there and interact with a couple of stakeholders there. Then for our delegates that our team has been working with you on your flights, they will send you an official email for you to know the time of your departure and when you'll be picked up as well to the airport. So please watch out for that. Then third, we are going to have the lunch just right after now, and we'll go through these 2 doors so that we can pick up our voucher, our lunch voucher, and then we would also go to the same places where we've had our lunch for the past 2 days. Now, to finish this up, I know you've all come from different countries, and we want to acknowledge that before we go. Is that okay? All right. Just in case, by luck or chance, you don't hear the country of your birth, but you hear the country where you reside, you are still part of that country, okay? So, yes, so this is what it's going to look like. So when I mention the name of your country, I would like you all from that country to stand up and say this in your mother tongue, to say thank you and goodbye. Okay. I understand you've not been speaking your mother tongue for a while. It's okay. Nobody, it's not a crime. Okay, now, your own mother tongue within the country, okay? Is that okay now? All right, good. I got you covered. Okay, are we ready for this? And while they say thank you and goodbye, other people, you give them a round of applause, you cheer them on for have come for these 3 days. It's not easy. And that's how we're going to do it till the end of the country I'm going to mention. Are we ready for this? Yes. Are we ready? Yes. Okay, one more time. Are we ready? Yes. Okay, the first country is Botswana. We cannot hear you. Woo! Thank you so much, all the way from Botswana. Next is Cabo Verde. We cannot hear you. There you go. Thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot of languages within these few minutes. Okay. The next one is Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire. There you go. Tell us. Merci, au revoir. Very good. Next country is Ethiopia. Oh, Ethiopia again. Okay. What's the language? Salamna. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, next country is Gambia. Tell us. Very good. Thank you so much for coming. Next is Ghana. Woo! Almost the whole room. Tell us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I hope you are writing down. Someday you will meet this in the future. Okay, the next country is Kenya. Tell us something. Asante sana. Thank you so much. The next country is Malawi. Thank you so much for coming. Next country is Mauritius. Thank you so much. The next country is Morocco. Ooh, thank you so much. Okay, if you did not clap, they will not allow you to go for AFCON. Okay, all right. The next country is Namibia. Woo! Wow. Thank you so much. The next country is Nigeria. Woo! Tell us something. Wow. Thank you so much from Nigeria. Okay, I want to mention this country, but I think I'm going to take it to the very end. Yeah? So the next country is going to be Senegal. Amazing. Thank you so much. Next country is South Africa. South Africa. South Africa. South Africa. There you go. Thank you so much. Next country is Tanzania. We want to hear you. Thank you so much. Next country is Togo. There you go. There you go. Akbikaka. Oh wow, this one is very mechanical. Thank you so much, Togo. Next country is Uganda. Aha! This one is an exam question. Huh? Okay, the next country is Zimbabwe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, we're going to move out of the continent because we also have people joining us outside of the African continent. So we go to Ireland. Ireland. Where? Ireland. Yeah? No. Oh, okay, that's okay. That's all right. Don't worry. The United Kingdom. Okay? All right. Okay. The United States of America. Thank you so much. Thank you. Finally, you know the country, right? Oh, if you don't stand up for this one, we retrieve all our 2 days. Okay, can we do this together? Are we ready for this? The host country, Rwanda! 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 Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Murakoze Chana, thank you so much. We are so glad that you've all made it here. We started together on day one, and here we are. Final day, we did this together, we made it happen with all the travels, with everything. We made it happen. Can we give a round of applause to ourselves? And we are absolutely looking forward to seeing you all again somewhere in the future, somewhere across the countries. And please do invite us to your countries as well, just as we have invited you to our country as well. If you don't invite us, it's a crime. Okay, I just want to say, after now, we just go right here. We take our lunch voucher and then all the way to lunch, and you can continue to network. And I'll say safe journey to all of you, either locally or internationally, and thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
The king. Yeah, we're here to say the best period. Niba utabyumva ufite ubwenge wahunga, niwitambika turakugonga. We are a train, get off the rail. Tell everyone